So here we're going to talk about drawing cylinders. Okay, so like this is a cylinder, this is just like a giant vase. And then I got another vase that's a little bit smaller. So obviously this one's clear and this one's solid. Okay, I'm going to kind of use the two of them to show you what I want you to think about. So obviously there's the top of this one, right? Right here, right? So if you look at this, it's a circle, and then you can see a circle on the bottom, which, of course, is just representing the other side of it. Okay. So that's what a cylinder basically is. And even one like this one, where if you look at it, obviously it's wider on the top and more narrow on the bottom, but, again, that's still a circle. And then so is this. Okay. So generally what I tell people, when you're drawing cylinders, bases, anything like that, even if it's like, some type of column on a building, and it's round, then, you want to think of it the same way. Okay, that it's basically like you could think of it as a bunch of circles stacked up. Okay, so what ends up happening is obviously as you look at it like this, it's more of just a circle, but then as you start to turn it, okay, because that's generally how we're going to see things. We're going to see things at more of an angle. Okay, so as you can see, as I turn it, like as all of a sudden it's, where we're kind of looking down at it, it's more of a circle. And then as I turn it, obviously it gets more squished. Okay, see? So like say right there, see how squished that is? That's an ellipse. It's basically just a squished circle. Okay, and again, obviously as I keep turning it and all of a sudden I get to there, see it disappears and it's basically like a little flat line. Okay. And so sort of the same thing with the bottom that, you can see it right through the glass. It's more of a circle, right? But then as I start flattening it, it becomes an ellipse. Okay. And so the other thing you're going to notice is that, once I get it to that certain angle, you don't see a curve anymore. You see a flat line, but then, if you notice as I move it up, okay, see, like now all of a sudden you're seeing the bottom. Now it's still a squished circle, but it's starting to expand like this way. Okay, and again, if I bring it back down, see it now all of a sudden, see it's opening back up, but again, it's the top. So like right in there, again, the idea is that your eye is like even with this. And then, if it goes below, you're seeing a little more of the top of that circle. And if it goes above, you're seeing more of the bottom of it. Okay, it's the same thing here. Okay, so right there, it's kind of like a flat line. Bring it down more, see it's opening up, and then as I go up, it opens up more, but again, it's the back side this time. Okay. So honestly, generally when you're drawing these, say in a drawing class, or you set them on the table and then you're looking at drawing them, it's going to look a little bit like this. So like here I am turning it, obviously, but you're going to see something like that. Okay, so that you'll see this kind of open a little bit. Like I said, if you're standing over it more, it's going to open more. If you're sitting a little more level with it, might be even like that. Okay. So regardless of the shape, again, same thing. You'll see the same thing happen. Okay, regardless of the shape of the base. Okay. And of course, like I said, this one's a little more narrow at the bottom, and then it gets a little skinnier here in the middle, and then it gets, of course, wider as it gets to the top. So the other thing you're going to notice with any cylinder is that if I'm turning it, like I'm actually turning it, see? So as you turn it, no matter how much you turn it, like basically, one half is the same as the other half. Okay, regardless of what type of cylinder it is. So let's see, if it's this one, again, if I keep rotating it, it just looks the same on both sides. Okay, so that's something that's really helpful too, is that there's a great deal of symmetry. Okay, and I didn't clean this paper very well before I started doing this. So I don't know, we'll start drawing over here. And so there's sort of a shortcut version I do. And as the class goes on, I'll show you some other versions. But even if we're just drawing a simple cylinder, if you get a line, let's say it's sitting flat on the table or it's flat on the ground, what's going to happen is, it's in like this. So you want a line that goes straight up and down, that is, perfectly at 90 degrees, pointing straight up. So Hopefully that's where my line is. I'm kind of at a weird angle because I can't see the paper as clearly as I normally would because my phone is that I'm recording with is kind of blocking this. Okay, so we're there. And so again, if something's sitting on the table, then what happens is that you're not really looking at a circle, you're looking at an ellipse. And so in general, you have to kind of just guesstimate how open that circle is. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of draw something, like that. And so when you draw the shape like this, try not to use your wrist as much. Try to use more of your elbow and your arm, your shoulder, draw more from your arm. And this doesn't have to be perfect the first time. I'm just going to sketch it in, okay? And then really the idea is that this half is the same as this half. So however far it is from here, okay, is the same as it is from over here. So I think I did okay. So like right about there is the edges. And so again, same distance, okay? So if it's just a regular cylinder, what happens then is that, again, you can just kind of draw a line straight up and down from there. Okay. And then if this is the bottom, let's see, so I'm, kind of doing that smiley face curve. And to be honest, it probably curves a little bit more. If you're looking down at something, the bottom will always curve a little more dramatic than it is at the top. And so if it's like that clear vase that I had a second ago, you would see of course, through it. Okay, but really, for the most part, if you're just drawing a regular cylinder, kind of looking at that little smiley face there. Okay. And then this, you can see it curves up, so that's a smiley face. And then, of course, this back part kind of starts curving down. It's a frowny face. And really, yeah, you're just kind of connecting the dots. And the idea is when I build it this way, I'm trying to make it look a little more three-dimensional from the beginning, and then I'm focusing on it being, the mirror image, that one half is the same as the other, okay? Another trick you can do with the ellipses is that if, you have a hard time kind of freehanding the ellipses, so say I am, going to draw another sort of version of this one. Instead of trying to do the whole like curve, I can actually do like a straight line. Okay, and again, I'm just trying to make sure that from here to here is the exact same distance as from here to here. Okay, I could do that at the bottom as well. Okay, I can just kind of put a line. And then what I can do is, of course, bring this down. And so I end up kind of with this rectangle. Okay, hopefully that's kind of straight. Like I said, I'm looking at this like sort of a weird angle. So hopefully it's straight on the camera. And then what you can do then is use that to help you draw the curve. Okay, because then I'm just kind of connecting that, and then I can go back and connect this one. And same thing here. So whichever method you want to do that works for you. Either one is fine. Okay, so I think that one came out a little better than that one. Okay, so let's say it's like this other vase. Or actually, even we'll grab this one. Okay, so this one obviously is not, the same at the top as it is at the bottom. It's like wider, then it starts getting skinnier, and then it gets wider again, then it gets skinnier again at the bottom, okay? So you can use the same basic idea. So I think I'll draw it kind of small here. I'll draw it a little bit smaller than those other ones. So again, I'm just trying to do this straight line that sometimes I have a harder time drawing than I'd like to. Okay, so and again, for the purpose of this, I'm looking for it to be more three-dimensional and straight. Okay, so you don't get the width and the height exactly right. That's okay. I just want you to work on the concept of it. So again, that vase, can hold it with my other hand. Again, wider, then skinnier, then wider, and then skinnier. So we'll do a version of that. Like I said, I kind of like just freehanding the ellipses. So something like that, okay, at the top. And then what you have to do is you have to think of it, again, sort of like a bunch of circles stacked up. But you don't need to draw every one. I'm going to draw that one, and I'm going to kind of draw one here where it gets the skinniest. And then again, see it starts getting wider, and so then that's the widest spot right here. So I'll draw another circle there. And again, it starts kind of diminishing, getting skinnier, and I'll draw one at the bottom. Okay. Maybe we'll go a little wider there. And so then this one I know is narrower. So I'm going to add one here, because again, top, the middle where it's skinnier, and it gets wider again right here. Like I said, I'm just kind of doing a curve. And then I'm just going to say, like, this is the distance it needs to go to the bottom. But again, that was not looking very good. Okay. And so now what happened, instead of them being exactly the same size, like it's wider, skinnier, or wider, and then skinnier. Or whatever it needs to be, depending on the shape of the cylinder. Okay. And so again, you could do it with straight lines like I did over here. That would work. I just tend to kind of like freehanding them because I like when the drawing looks a little more spontaneous and loose. You know, you can always kind of go back in and clean things up. And when we do full shading, you're not going to want to outline these as heavy as I'm doing them now. I'm just trying to emphasize again where the curves are. Okay, so, you know, sort of like here, you got to think of it as like, all right, if I have the, you know, the spacing correct, you can think of it as little imaginary dots. You don't really need to draw them on there, but I'm drawing them on here so that, let me give you a little better idea of what I mean. Okay, and again, see, same thing. They're just, you know, on this like imaginary horizontal line. You're going to kind of connect the dots, okay? And so then here, you know, I'm just going to kind of give it a curve like the vase had. So I'm going from there, and then I'm just going to kind of curve my line. Same thing from here. I'm going to kind of curve my line. And then here what happens is, you know, that vase tends to kind of curve out like a little dome. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So again, the idea is that you're just doing, you know, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other because it's more or less the mirror image. Okay, and so then, there we go. You know, if you needed to put more circles to help you guide, that's perfectly fine too. You can add as many as you want to. Okay, but that's more or less it. And so then, like I said, if we were doing a full value drawing where we're shading, I would tell you not to outline this as heavy as I'm doing it now, but just so you get a little clearer picture, because I know my hand is smudging all of this. I'm going to outline it a little heavier. And then there we go. Okay. And that's our base. And then you don't need to erase these things, but so you can see more or less the finished shape. And there you go. Okay. So remember, the main thing is you put that straight line in. So if I don't put that straight line in and I'm trying to draw this base, sometimes what happens is that you end up with something like this. Okay, and so you can see like here, that straight line helped me keep, you know, where one side looked like the other. Okay, but if I don't put that straight line, sometimes this is what ends up happening. And then, you know, if you try to connect the lines then, you're gonna notice there's something kind of wrong with it. Okay. So again, the straight line from the top. And then even on the sides, like how I drew that, and then I did one on the edge. You can always add as many of these straight lines as you need to as you're drawing. Okay, so like, you know, that goes straight up and down, and then, you know, you can kind of turn it into a little grid. So like I said, I use sort of a shortened version of that, but yeah, you can always plot as many vertical and horizontal lines as you need to. Whatever helps you get it on there accurately. Okay, so again, I like at least having that center line to help me get symmetry. And then the next part is really just understanding how open the ellipse is. And that's, you know, you'll have that here and on the rest of them. Okay, so again, if you're looking at it a little more straight down, that ellipse isn't going to be so squished. It's going to be more of a circle. Like it'll be more, you know, maybe more like that. Okay, if you're really looking at it from straight down, or, you know, looking straight down at it from the top, it's going to look even more like a circle. Okay, and then if you're really close to eye level and, you know, even more so than that, it's going to look like super, super flat. Like something like that. Or, you know, again, sometimes it might end up just being looking where it looks like a straight line because your eye is completely even with the top. Okay, that doesn't happen very often, but it can.